Welcome to Whisky Cast, cask strength conversation featuring news and interviews from the world of whiskey. I'm Mark Gillespie. This is episode number 919 for January 26th, 2022, featuring our happy hour live webcast from the other night. Sam Simmons and Dave Worthington from That Boutique Whiskey Company were my guests. We had a lot of laughs and some serious conversation about whiskey, too. We'll have more cask strength conversation coming up on this week's live webcast. Maggie Kimbrell of American Whiskey Magazine and Clay Risen of the New York Times will be my guests. Next week, IndyCar's Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe are scheduled to join me, along with Tim Durham, the producer of their Off Track with Hinch and Rossi podcast, and maybe even a special guest or two. Meanwhile, 2 weeks from now on February 11th, Maker's Mark Chairman Emeritus Bill Samuels Jr. will be my guest. You can catch our live webcasts starting at 5 p.m. New York time on the WhiskyCast YouTube channel, our Facebook page, Twitter, and Twitch. Thanks as always to our presenting sponsors of WhiskyCast, Redbreast and Dewar's, for making our happy hour live webcasts possible, along with the segment sponsors on each week's WhiskyCast podcast, Catoctin Creek, Oban, Writer's Tears, Sagamore Spirit, Scarabus, and the Delmore. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world right now. It's 5 o'clock East Coast time on a Friday evening, a cold, chilly Friday evening here in New Jersey. I'm Mark Gillespie, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Happy Hour live webcast from whiskycast.com. Hope you've had a good week. Hope you've stayed warm, stayed out of trouble, and stayed healthy, most of all. We want to have a lot of fun in the next hour or so talking with our guests. Let me bring them in right now. Sam Simmons, Dr. Whiskey, and Boutique Dave Worthington from That Boutique Whiskey Company, Adam Brands, and all such good things connected to the Master of Malt family and the Adam Brands family. How you doing, boys?
Good evening. Fine and dandy. Thank you very much.
Love the hat, Dave.
You know I love hats, and I try and wear a different hat almost every day on our morning calls and the team calls. So I've got to go hat shopping, I must admit. But it's good to put a Friday hat on. Yeehaw! It's the Uncorked Cowboy. That's why.
Oh yeah. What have you guys been up to with the Uncorked Whiskey Sessions podcast lately?
Wow. Right to it. Eh? You're a real journalist, Mark.
Well, I'm just curious. Just what have you guys been doing since the holidays?
Thinking hard. Planning ahead. That's what we've been doing.
Come back. Means you guys haven't done jack since the holidays, and I caught you out on this one, didn't I?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're an investigative journalist. Mark, I have been upskilling. I've been trying to learn how to edit and to use Premiere Pro. So that's what slowed us down. It's completely my fault, not Dave's. You
need help with that? Let me know. I've been using it for 25 years now, literally since it was coming out on floppies.
Well, someone like you, to be honest, this is boring for your viewers, but I would love to sit and just have someone live and just try to edit a video together and learn by doing. I could really appreciate that.
We'll do that offline. But in the meantime, what's in your glasses, guys?
Blended Scotch whiskey, baby. I'm just getting warmed up. Actually, it's 10 o'clock at night in the UK, so we're a bit ahead of you, happy hours.
What's in which blend though?
I'm getting high on my own supply just because I had it nearby. It's Green Isle, blended Scotch whiskey.
Dave, we've been happy for hours, Mark.
Yeah, it doesn't take an hour.
Yeah, at least an hour. I've got some Strathmill in my glass. I thought I'll go and grab this 22-year-old Strathmill. It's been in a sherry butt. It's one of our recent releases. Came out with our home nations. Really, because I bought some dark chocolate just before Christmas, and I've still got some because I don't eat a lot of chocolate. But I found that chocolate and sherried whiskies really go together so well. So that darkness, for example, and a little bit of dark chocolate in the mouth, let it just sort of dissolve. But this one's smashing, absolutely smashing.
Our pal Chris Ratcliffe says, Dave, you need the Whistle Pig fur-lined hat with space for miniatures in there.
I certainly do, Chris. I certainly do. That would be wonderful. I need all the hats. I need to go hat shopping.
Well, what I have in my glass right now is the last little bits with a cork in there of previous failed corkdom of the Sheep Dip 1990 that Richard Patterson put together a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, Sláinte, guys, it's good to talk to you again. It's been too long.
Thanks so much for the invitation. It's a great way for us. I mean, it still feels that you say we're still saying Happy New Year, so it's a whole new year, and starting it with you is lovely, man. Miss you. And this time of year, we're usually in Victoria, aren't we?
Yeah, this last weekend we would have been in Victoria having fun, and for the second year in a row, damn it, we haven't been able to go.
Yeah, let's not complain too much because others have suffered worse. But you're absolutely right. Our lives have been adjusted in all sorts of ways, and even the little things. We're sick and tired, people.
And on that note, we should raise a glass to the late, great Meatloaf, who passed this morning, along with the comedian Louis Anderson. I mean, Meatloaf, damn. I mean, his music was iconic from the 70s, 80s. I know you guys are musicians, too, especially you, Sam, with Copper Dogs. I know you got to have some appreciation for that, too, right?
Well, the bit of Meatloaf that I love more than anything, of course, that Jim Steinman. Is that the guy's name? Jim's music was already theatrical and really pretty groundbreaking and proggy in rock. It was progressive. It really pushed the envelope. But Meatloaf, a larger than life character who was really an actor, right, Dave? He took it to the next level.
He was. Yeah, he was a theatrical actor, wasn't he? I mean, I've been playing Meatloaf all day from when I turned up at the 9 o'clock meeting this morning. Meatloaf was blasting, and I've been on Bat Out of Hell and this whole portfolio all through the day. It's just been playing out the speaker right here.
Yeah, I was humming
just before.
Humming Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Aye.
All day long.
Well, that theatrical element, I mean, that changed pop music for for all of us. And we cite the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, of course, but I think Jim Steinman and Meatloaf bringing it to life really did change what was allowed in music. Yeah,
when you look at what Steinman, Meatloaf, and Queen and Freddie Mercury were doing, they were almost as theatrical in a lot of ways.
But one might not have been possible without the other. Hey, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Good comparison.
Yeah, I mean, Meatloaf paved the way for Queen, I think. I think on the timing, they were within a couple of years of each other, but had Meatloaf not performed in Rocky Horror Picture Show, that really paved the way for Queen, I think, almost with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, certainly in their not even their late years, but Queen evolved, right? They were just sort of a big rock band initially with a great lead singer, but it became more theatrical and operatic and longer tunes and more heavily arranged. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
There was a few of them, wasn't there, at that time? And Peter Gabriel was all about theatrics, and I think he was even before Meatloaf. But yeah, Meatloaf was just one of those front men who was. Bowie was one of those front men to become one of those, a character playing someone else in front. It wasn't David Bowie in front; he was playing a character. He was,
and the guy had pipes too.
Ziggy,
the guy had pipes.
Oh, he wanted to give a performance all the time, didn't he? Yeah. I was just watching a few clips on the news earlier with some interviews with various people. He was funny as well. I mean, just improvising immediately and just jumping on with just sort of smashing Noel Edmonds around and Terry Wogan. I'm going back years, 80s, 70s stuff over here in the UK TV, but he was really dominating the screen. It was fantastic.
There's a VH1 Storytellers documentary that they did with him many, many years ago. If you can find it on YouTube somewhere, hopefully maybe they might actually consider replaying it. But sort of in studio, a little private concert type thing with interviews going in with it. And it was just, I remember it from years ago, and it was just fantastic. I don't know if they're going to replay it or not, but we should move on. Sam, I noticed you pointed out that Green Isle bottle, and you guys actually have some news on that for our U.S. viewers, right?
Yeah, well, thank you, America, for changing the rules about sizing because it makes it much easier for us. We in the UK deal in 700s and boutique whiskey company. All the Dave's whiskeys are all, except for, I guess, one exception, Dave. Are in,
one or two, yeah.
One or two are in 50 CL or 500 ml bottles. Hey, Spears. Hey, Sam. And Genesis. Exactly. But yeah, we're really, really, really delighted that I think that should be landing Monday, we're told. a few of our bottlings in 700s, but our Green Isle blended Scotch, which is a smoky blended Scotch that I blended for my wife, inspired by Whitehorse, and then Airlight Lindsay, 10-year-old single malt Isla, Boutique's 70cl World Whiskey Blend, a blend of the whiskeys from around the world, made for the world, the way the world drinks whiskey, for mixing, really. It's fine, neat too, as Dave keeps reminding me, but it is a whiskey made to be diversely mixed. Coconut water, green tea, Coca-Cola, ginger ale, all the ways, which is pretty unique, I think. Pretty cool. And then darker, as you can see, sherry finished 8-year-old worm tub Speyside whiskey, all coming to the U.S. right now.
Can't wait to see them and taste them, and we will get tasting notes for them as soon as possible. But tell me how that change in the rules a year ago, because it's been literally a year since the Trump administration changed that rule on the way out the door. But that may have been, I'm going to get political here, that may have been one of the few good things the Trump administration did for whiskey lovers, was change the bottling size rule.
I'm not sure how it came about. Do you have any background on what motivated it? I don't want to get political, but I just wonder, like, the machine behind it, the decision. Back
in the latter couple of years of the Trump administration, every agency was under orders to cut all the federal regulations that they could. The rule was they had to cut 2 for every one they wanted to create. And my take on it at the time was that this one was low-hanging fruit. They could change the bottle size. They had to change anyway because the U.S. had done a free trade deal with Japan where we had to allow 720s, 800s, and 900s that shochu gets bottled in Japan. So they just said, okay, well, screw it. We're going to let the 700s in as well. And it was unintended consequences because if you follow the trade talks between the UK and the US and the European Union over the years, somebody should have raised a red flag and said, no, wait a second. If we let the 700s in, that's going to give away all of our leverage with the Europeans. But they did it.
Right. Yeah. The wider picture. So yeah, because all these decisions might be made, without fully thinking through, and especially with Trump, that's completely possible, it seems.
Our pal Watchman 999 in, I believe, Calgary says, I have those 4 in a Drinks by the Dram 12 sample kit.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Thanks, man. And I also want to address Chris's point about the 50 mil. I totally hear you on that. And I think it's tough. But for us as a craft distiller, as a craft producer, and as an indie brand, any way to get into the States, to ship to 50 countries at once is challenging enough without the bottle having to make a whole new bottling line, because it puts us out of business. We can't do it just for the U.S. So now we can, which is really, really, I'm really excited about.
And as our pal Nurse Dave points out, that's just the neck pour, Chris.
Right.
Neck pours. It is just a neck pour, isn't it? That's all it is. Yeah.
Basically.
It wasn't that long ago we wore 750 over here, wasn't it? Yeah.
Hey, just out of curiosity, how were you guys affected by the dropping of the tariffs on single malts?
Well, I mean,
or is it too soon to say?
I think it is too soon to say just yet. I mean, and we aren't like some of the larger companies, shipping full tankers every week. We might ship once a year. We're a small producer, boutique whiskey company. The clue's in the name. Character of Isla whiskey company, a few thousand bottles a year. So it's we haven't really felt that yet. But I'm sure there are some companies who have a great opportunity again.
Dave?
Okay. I was just going to say to Dave, he's pleasantly surprised to see some actual boutique whiskies in Atlanta. If you want to know anything about any of those whiskies, just drop me a line and I'll tell you everything about them. If you've got it. I don't know what's in Atlanta, but it's great that there is some. Boutique whiskey is coming around. I mean, was it Binny's and K&L Wines, I think I was told. That's where boutique whiskey is at the moment, and it's coming through. But certainly those continuous liquids are going to be in 13 states from going forward now. I think the stuff lands on Monday, and then it's going across to, it's 50 countries. It's not one country, the United States. They're not that united, really. It's not as easy as you think as the United States of United Counties. United Shires of England.
Your perfect country, Dave. Yeah, why don't you go Brexit, buddy? Look, Mark, to your question, getting rid of that tax and that tariff is such a bet. I was being selfish thinking from my perspective as a producer, but for a whiskey drinker, if I was in the States, it's an advantage.
Yeah,
it's a great benefit for everyone who buys whiskey. It means that they're freer to explore without being punitively punished. It's a good thing overall for sure.
And our pal Tabitha in Brighton says, Cut Your Wolf Loose has quite a few TWBC bottles, or TBWC bottles, and she's slowly working her way through them all.
I'll be down there on the 21st of February doing a boutique tasting in Cut Your Wolf Loose. So, make sure you come along to that one.
On the 21st?
Mm-hmm. 21st of February, I'm down there.
Okay, because today's the 21st of January. I was thinking, wait a second, didn't you miss something here? Or
Next month.
Question for you now from Chris Ratcliffe. Dave, what do you think of Puny Distillery's output, and Sam as well? The 4-year-old TWBC bottling sounds very interesting. I have not been able to try any Puny yet from Italy, and I want to. I've not been able to get my hands on any yet.
I'm really impressed with, I was just if you looked on my Instagram, I was just tasting it the other night. Again, revisiting it. It was from our Winecast series, and we're working like at the moment. We've just recorded the video for the series that's coming out Q2 of this year, and we're just about to bring out the first series of this year next month. And so I'm working still two behind and 2 in front, and I'm not quite sure where I am most of the time, which is great for me. But the Puny is absolutely banging. The one that we bottled, the 4-year-old, is one of their earlier mash bills. So it's not just malted barley, it's malted wheat and malted rye in the mash bill as well. So it's an Italian single malt whiskey. But they don't call it a single malt. It's a malt whiskey, Italian malt whiskey, rather than a single malt whiskey. Although it's all come from the same distillery, but it's 3 different grains, which is kind of cool. Although they do, I think since 2016, they have been making a pure single malt.
Yeah.
I did taste a couple of the early Punis. Was pretty impressed with what they were doing. So this was when it was just what we can call whiskey over here, because it has to be 3 years old. Don't get me off on that rant. But yeah, it is. This one has been, the one that we bottled has been finished or matured in Pinot Noir. No, it's been in first fill bourbon and then in Pinot Noir casks, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's just so well balanced. It's really interesting. And my 2 granddogs are on the label, so it's even better. I mean, the 2 granddogs are up on the label. We've got all the team's dogs on the labels, on that label anyway. They're in the little barrels racing down the hill, which is kind of cool.
I love it. And Tabitha or Christopher Malloy, Italians I know tend to embrace Scotch, so that'll be interesting indeed. Unfortunately, Tabitha's not going to make your tasting in Brighton on the 21st because she's going to be in Glasgow. Boo, she puts it.
Well, she'll have a wonderful time in Glasgow anyway. So, Glasgow.
We have a note from Graham Fraser. Evening, folks. Just on train heading home from the match at Ibrox tonight. So it's football night in Glasgow.
Well, that's both over my head and Sam's head, I think. We don't know anything about footy. Well, I certainly don't.
That's the one where you only kick it, right?
Yeah. That's the only one where they just kick the round ball. Yeah, they don't touch it.
Okay, this is going to be... my Glasgow friends are going to shoot me for this. Ibrox, is that where Rangers play or is that where Celtic plays?
The former.
Okay, the Blues. Okay. I just want to make sure because...
If I fuck that up, I'm going to get shot. I need to be careful.
But you live over there.
Baseball.
Yeah, I have an excuse. I'm an American. We don't know football. We still think football, you carry it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Soccer. Fair. You mean you don't know soccer?
I want to just a quick shout out to our pal Chris Tatsenko down in Australia. Good day from both of us down under. Chris and his wife Lilith, who started chemo this week for breast cancer. Chris, Lilith, we're thinking of you guys. Stay strong. Hang in there and keep fighting. We know you got this, and kick cancer's ass, okay? So we'll go along with that. I want to move on to Kevin DeVries' question. as a proud son of Canada, Sam, the fact that we can now take 700s into the U.S., is that going to take some of the supply away from Canada?
Again, for a company like us, that probably not. We're doing really well and have great momentum in Canada right now. And you're right, we probably favor it slightly because it is my home country, and I want us to do well in Canada. I know there's an appetite. I know that I want to use any excuse to go home, and doing well at home will help that. But our colleague Jacqueline Penny, has done an amazing job getting us really solid support, not just distribution, but like people who believe in the stuff that we're doing all across Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, and Ontario. And Ontario, as you know, Mark, Ontario is a hard market to work in. You know, they know they're the biggest buyer in the world, and they act like it. And I don't want to burn any bridges, but they make things tough. So to have the support from a province like Alberta and our friends at Kensington Wine Market and many others is so valuable, and it's much more than just a customer supplier relationship. It's a friendship and a mutual love of whiskey, you know, so that's a really cool thing. So I don't think you have to worry about supply. We favor, if anything, we favor our Canadian partners right now until we get established in the States. And the things like boutique, they work better in Canada because we can do small runs. We don't have to go to every state. We can send it all to one market, and that's much trickier to do, I think, in the U.S.
And as Watchman 999 in Calgary points out, Kensington Wine Market is the poster child for that boutique whiskey company.
Well, they have actually bottled their own single cask from us. They've had their own label designed, and we've just bottled a Highland No. 2. We're not allowed to tell you what this is. I've got it on there. I've just shared that label with you if you want to have a look at it. So it's a label that's very particular to them. So that you can see Sam there, and you can see the team in the basket there. We're not allowed to say where this distillery comes from on the label here. So it is Highland No. 2. There's plenty of clues there with a little cat in the clouds.
I think there's a candle. It's a candle-powered hot air balloon. That's the real clue for waxy fans.
Yeah.
And that K on there, the hockey sweater, is.
There's two there. Two hockey sweaters. There's the white hat, the white cowboy hat.
We couldn't do the C because that's the trademark of refrigerator, but also Kensington. So he's Calgary Flames. Calgary Flames with a K.
So yes, that's a 20-year-old. 20-year-old. It's older than that. I'm
urinating on the Ben Braggie, the mount at the top, the statue.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, Tabitha pointed that out as well.
Tabitha's right. It's a tradition that a lot of us take part in. It's one of the reasons that I'm a supporter of keeping statues up, because then we can remember however the hell we want rather than have it erased. So it's ironic. Funnily, I mean, both on separate trips, Andrew and I have both taken part in that longstanding tradition. And so that's what we wanted to have on the label.
Now, I'm curious, or I want to bring out this question that we had from, and I want to try scrolling back through here to find this one because, let's see here.
That fire burns lovely, Sam. Your little fireplace burns beautifully, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's Sam always has the best backgrounds. Graham Fraser wants to know, Sam, wants to know if you can tell us about your time at Balvenie. Tell us your best David Stewart story of working with the legend that is David Stewart, OBE.
Yeah. God, it still is a privilege to have him as a friend. And I'll periodically get text messages from David Stewart, which still sort of blows my mind. I mean, he's just an absolute sweetheart. And he's working at Balvenie generally, but working in particular with Brian Kinsman and all the lads at the distillery and David was a great reminder that the people who make whiskey take whiskey very seriously, but they don't take themselves very seriously. And I really do try to take that into my own whiskey life, that it's just a drink. And we're just people fortunate enough to be close to it. And that modesty, that humility that David espouses just casually and authentically is really inspirational. And it's what whiskey, it's one of Scotch whiskey's great gifts, I think, to all the craft distillers of the world is remember, you're not more important than what you make, and what you make isn't more important than the people who take it from you, or share it with you. So, anyway, let's find a funny story about David. Well, he texted me not too long ago because some bottles he ordered from Master of Malt. He likes to tell me when he orders from us, which is fucking sweet. So he texted me saying, "Oh, Sam, I just want to let you know I ordered a few more bottles, but unfortunately, 2 of them arrived broken." And I was like, "Oh, David, I'm so sorry to hear that." But before I could finish my reply, he already said, "But don't worry, Sharon, I forget who's. I spoke to so-and-so, and she's already sent me 2 more. Congratulations on your great customer service," or whatever. You know, he's just such a dude, and he checks in on family, and I check in on him and his, and he's a real wonderful, modest guy with such achievement and such molding of our whole industry under his belt. Love him.
I want to get him on one of these webcasts, but I know it's too late for him. Over there, they've told me he doesn't like to stay up this late on Friday nights. But I would love to get him on here and let him take some questions from folks.
If you get him enough Guinness, I'm sure he'll stay up. But one of the challenges in his part of Scotland is the connection. I've tried to get him online for a few things, and it upsets him. It really frustrates him because he likes to do things just so. And because it's out of your control, it upsets him, and that's not nice to see. And I wouldn't want to put him through that. So yeah, that's the biggest problem, I think, Mark.
We have a good question from Christopher Malloy. Do you find New York City to be a challenging Scotch market? I can't find half the bottles I'd like to. You have some experience with this, guys, in dealing with the New York City market. Obviously, I've never tried to sell whiskeys there, but it is a challenging market for a number of regulatory reasons, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not as close to the details of this as I used to be, but I certainly witnessed and was a part of the sort of route to market as an ambassador for Balvenie, as that question earlier, working in the U.S. Based out of New York. We were distributed, and the distributors, I can tell you, the model in the U.S. is tough. And I'm not trying to, anything I say in the next few seconds, please don't hold against me, is criticizing the distributors, but the system is rigged against them even. The whole system is challenging. You know, I think when you have people who are taking incentives and trips and money to push certain products, the big products will win. And there's also very little reason for a new or young salesperson to actually know anything about their products because they have a new one to push next week. And that's the most important thing. It's not about a relationship with their customers. And that's what works against it, I think. I don't know about shipping across state lines now in the U.S. or how that works, but I think
it doesn't.
It doesn't. So
it doesn't work well.
So without that, I think getting everything you want, especially with so much great whiskey being produced all over the world, never mind just Scotland, the likelihood of getting everything you want in New York is low. I would say it's very low.
And one of the other issues that New York has is that the state requires that bottles be made available to any retailer in the state that wants it. So Park Avenue Liquors used to have these great store exclusive bottlings, and they can't have them anymore for the last 10 years or so because the state said, no, you can't have store exclusive casks anymore. They have to be available to every retailer in the state. So as a result, New York doesn't get allocated as much stuff. Then you have the whole issue of pricing with the Pappies and everything, because some of the most god-awful prices I've seen for the Van Winkle whiskeys have been on the east side of New York, on the East End, around the United Nations, where they're charging $2,000 a bottle for a bottle of the 10-year-old Van Winkle just because of all the UN diplomats with expense accounts.
Yeah, I can see that creates multiple problems, that sort of thing, doesn't it? That's not well thought through. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, New Yorkers.
What have you got there, Sam?
I got a lesson. Well, as an American, maybe I should give you a lesson on freedom, because that doesn't sound very, very much like freedom.
No.
Freedom.
I decided to go my buddy Jonathan Wingo works with Smooth Ambler, brought me an Old Scout. It's an MGP selection. It's a single cast selection, but it is banging.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that I feel I have to say but after I say MGP, because you really shouldn't. They produce wonderful spirits, and this particular cast is just heaven.
Oh, I was drinking
an MGP earlier, weren't you, Mark?
I was. This 8-year-old rye from Sagamore. I was doing it when I did a tease earlier on about an hour before the show started. I've never seen 8-year-old rye out of MGP before because most people bottle it 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
But these guys let it sit for 8 and then released it right before they released their own bottled and bond from their own distillery.
Old for a rye as well.
Yeah, 8 years old. I mean, this stuff was banging. I'm going to post my tasting notes for it, but I was going. And they did it at cask strength at, I think, 57.45%, almost 120 proof. Or 118 proof.
Too, but, I think Sagamore uses the high malt rye too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the MGP high malt rye is just wonderful, especially for a single malt drinker, I think. To our palate, someone who loves American and that malt fudginess, it's a perfect balance. Beautiful spirit. And I got to try that. 8 years old. Lovely.
Yeah. And MGP has always made good stuff. It's just not everybody treats it well when they get their own hands on it. It's what some of these bottlers and some of these blenders do when they get their hands on the stuff that screws up their reputation. I mean, that distillery wouldn't have been around for 150 years if they weren't making good whiskey.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's also a bit our fault, isn't it? We can be pretty snobby. Dave and I deal with real connoisseurs at the high end, and Boutique has some nerds too who are hopefully exploratory and open-minded because they support us when we try to bottle strange whiskeys from all around the world, something that tastes like diesel, something that tastes like nail polish. That, boutique people tend to be more open-minded, but I do think we are a bit snobby. Like, MGP doesn't have there's no one in suspenders making that whiskey. Can't be craft.
I've been to MGP. They take it seriously as any craft distillery in suspenders.
100%. Amen.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I love about whiskey. You can go to any of the distilleries in Scotland, even the ones that haven't got a brand, and they are passionate. I've worked in engineering most of my life, and when you go to an engineering company, you talk to the guy who's running the engineering company. So how many people are working here? And he normally goes about half of them. When you go to a whiskey company, no, that's serious.
I believe it.
They clock in, they clock out. They are passionate about what they're making, whether they have a brand or not. They are passionate about that whiskey. That it's all going into Johnny Walker or it's all going into Chivas. To them, that whiskey is the best in the world. That is what they make, and they are passionate. That's what I love about. That's what I fell in love with when I started going to all these. Started going to these distilleries and meeting the people. They are passionate about what they're making.
Christopher Malloy, I tend to like MGP so long as I know when I'm drinking it. Yeah, they should be transparent about it.
That's very fair. Yeah, I agree with that totally, Chris.
Dave Kuhn has a question. Should he open his Lagavulin Phase 21 bottle right now? Yes.
Yes. And can you teleport a dram to us?
Yeah. I was going to say, just wait for I'll arrive soon, then we open it. But yeah.
Warren, yes, it is.
Yes, open it. They didn't make it to sit on your shelf and collect dust. I mean, no. Open that sucker and drink it.
Yeah. Don't say for a special occasion. Every day is a special occasion.
Yeah. The fact that we're living today is a special occasion.
Absolutely.
With everything that's going on in this world, the fact that you made it through another day, you deserve a dram, for crying out loud. And as Dave points out, Monday is his birthday. Happy birthday, Dave.
Happy birthday, Dave. It's your birthday weekend. Let's go for it.
And Tabitha, suspenders, I have a completely different image in my head than you guys. I'm not going to ask.
No, they say, what is it, britches? What do you guys say here? Braces.
Dungarees, braces, yeah.
Yeah. I always I live in the UK, Tabitha, and I get nailed for saying the wrong thing all the time. So put on your suspenders.
Let's see. Tyrone Cote, our pal in Nova Scotia, has a question for you guys. How are you feeling about the relaxing of COVID restrictions in the UK, or at least in England?
Long silence, and it says a lot, doesn't it? It says a lot about our fatigue around this and our mixed feelings of responsibility and anger and regret. It's been a whirlwind for all of us, hasn't it? This whole thing, and we all want to do the right thing, and I don't feel we get that image from our leaders. So whatever's happened, whatever guidance we're getting from the government now, hasn't changed my family's life or my life. I've had COVID twice. I have kids in school. It's likely to happen. And I minimize my exposure. I'm very lucky to be able to work from home. The restrictions do anything for our friends in the on-trade and in types of jobs that need to be public facing? Yes, it's a massive gesture of support for those industries. But what does it mean for public health? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not totally comfortable commenting on it. All these decisions need to be made on our own. Not necessarily.
We've all been touched by it. I mean, you've been touched by it. You nearly Daddy's ruined Christmas. I remember that message you sent me. We've had family in hospital. I lost my father to COVID last year. So yeah, it's been horrendous. But hopefully we're getting back to some sort of normality soon, and we do need to get back to some sort of normality, because I can't stay in here forever. It's been almost 2 years.
Yeah, I got to raise a glass to your dad, Dave.
Yeah, amen.
Amen.
Cheers.
But I mean, some of this too, it's just Boris trying to fill the papers with good news in light of all the other bullshit that's been going on. So who knows what it all means? We need to make these calls for ourselves. We need to look after each other, do what's right for us and our families and neighbors and communities. But I don't think we need to look to leadership for guidance. We need to look to each other and look after each other.
And as Christopher Malloy points out, as soon as Boris had his back against the wall, notice how all the restrictions went away.
True. No, it's not a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Let's get off politics now. Juan Cruz commends you and your artist on the design of your labels for the boutique whiskeys. It's always fun to try to look for the clues to decipher the distillery of origin for those not mentioned in the packaging. Tell us about the artists that work on these. It's one particular artist, right?
Yeah, Emily Chappell is her name. She's an independent illustrator, designer, graphic illustrator, artist, a rock star, allotmenteer. She is just brilliant. I mean, she is brilliant. I absolutely love her. She has done every one of our boutique labels right from the beginning. We haven't used any other artist. She's definitely in our heads at the moment. She's definitely in our heads. We've just been working on a new release for later on this year. End of May, I think, will be coming out, and the labels are, oh my God, they're just, and I think it's something that we are going to, we've always used the same labels for the distilleries all the way through, and we've made a little departure from this, a little departure from this for our next series release, and she has bloody nailed it. Every one of them, they are absolutely amazing. They are, I mean, you can see in my office. And I must admit, I started framing boutique labels long before I started working for the company full time. I did start collecting the labels before I started working for them full time and framing them and putting them up on, because they look great on the wall. They're just great pieces of art. And this is the boutique office, so yeah, just about everything in here is a boutique label. But yes, we actually met her. Well, I didn't meet her, but the company met her on a booze cruise on Lagavulin. I mean, that is the story of boutique whiskey. We met her on a booze cruise. We were looking for an artist, and our marketing manager at the time was talking to this young lady on a boat on Lagavulin and said, "We're going to start a whiskey. We're building a whiskey company, an independent bottle, and we're looking for an artist to design some labels." And basically, she said, "I'm an artist. Give us a job." And she's been with us ever since. And yet she's been working with us for 10 years this year. We will be celebrating our 10th birthday in September. So yeah, it must be around 10 years or almost 10 years now that they've started working together. And so she's definitely in our heads now. Now we send her a brief, and she realizes our brief with pictures, and she just nails it every time. She is absolutely brilliant. And she does lots of other clever stuff as well. I mean, if you search her out on Emily Chappell Artist, and Mutant Mule is something I'm a huge fan of what she's been doing as an artist called Mutant Mule, and I bought all the T-shirts. Mutant Mule, the Mutant Mule motorcycle shop. I just fell in love with that sweatshirt as soon as I saw it, and I had to have it. See, she's just a diamond, absolute diamond.
Dave Keaton wants to know if you have a favorite among the boutique labels, Dave. Sam, you too as well.
Normally the ones, this is one of my favorites. I've made it into a mug and a mouse mat. This one here, look, it's got me and my banjo on it. So that was one of our Secret Space Ode number 4. That label there. It's evolved recently. And I'm on a new city series labels that we've done for China. This is the 4th city series that we've done for China, sort of independent. The bottled boutiques, so little batches go over to China, and I've turned into a Shaolin warrior or something, not a ninja, but yeah, it's great. I love it. I've had a mug made of that as well, because that's kind of cool. Another space cider.
We have a question from Gary Mills. Because the 10th anniversary of Boutique is coming up this fall, any fun 10th anniversary bottlings planned, or can you tell us that yet?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely.
Oh, I love that the nerds are here. Yeah, I love
the nerds know this stuff.
I know it.
We have a lot of fun stuff coming out over the next. So the end of the Q2 and the Q4 are the key anniversary. Q2 is the first one where we let our hair down a little bit, and you know we sort of let our music take over a little bit, and then Q4 we're going to have the bangers, the serious bangers out for Christmas with some of our sort of our favorite distilleries coming through, and lots of things, lots of good things planned for this year, because we are working to a plan now, which is kind of weird. It's almost like things are organized.
What a concept! Planning stuff.
Yeah, funny how necessary that is in whiskey. And when I got here, no one thought it was. So that was brilliant. No, with whiskey, it works to plan for sure. And as Dave says, everything we're doing this year is related to the anniversary. Us trying to do things, celebrating things sort of outside of our remit, going back to Oz. We did the Australia series last year. And then, we have some, like Dave said, some things we've earmarked for the 10th anniversary that single cask that we tasted, thought were, what are we going to do with this? And that we saved for this particular release. World whiskeys, 30-year-old Avalowers, Old Springbanks, things like that.
Ooh. Can you tell us anything about this series of Nordic whiskeys coming out next month?
Yeah, Dave. We can. What do we got? We've got the Norwest Euro
Express. Yeah.
A collection of, is it 8 or 10? I can't remember because I've just been talking about something else. But whiskeys from across.
Like you said, though, man, we're working in different time zones, aren't we? I mean, we're working on two series from now, so it's hard to remember what Norwest was. But you got it. You're right. 10. Continue. You're right.
It's whiskeys from right across Scandinavia and a little bit beyond. We've got quite a few brand new labels. Our first ever Austrian whiskey. We've sneaked in, first ever Austrian, a really interesting French spirit that we can't call a whiskey, even though it's got it's older than 3 years old, but we can't call it a whiskey. It's kind of cool.
Made of buckwheat.
It's made of buckwheat. That's kind of cool. We've got another Danish distillery. So a couple of new first, a Finnish brand new label, and a couple of other batches, new batches. Not new labels, but new batches of distilleries that we bottled before or really quite recently. Some of them we bottled a little while ago. There's a lot of great stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's nine. I'm just looking at them. Ranging in ages from 3 to 14 years old. A couple of ryes from Scandinavia. A couple of malts. Oh, it's already been shared. There it is. There's a little sneaky hint there. Okay, we've got them. You can recognize a few of the labels there. I can recognize them straight away. Helsinki and Smorgon. Shears, Tirempelli, which we just released with our wine cast series. There's a few there that you've seen before. And a few brand new ones there, which you won't know what they are, and you won't be able to read those little tiny small prints there. So there's some little secrets there. But yeah, there's some pretty impressive liquid there, to be honest. Really geeky stuff.
Oh yeah, and things like we've never tasted before, Dave. There's some stuff that we got. Our cast buyer Felix, we call it Norwest Euro Express because he started trying to source whiskeys from the Nordics, but he just kept finding one banger after another. And he's like, no, this one, we need to include this. But I'm like, we're not going to bottle it for 2 years, so you're not allowed to buy it. Sorry. So, well, then we need to change the series. So we did. So he just stayed on the train. He got our Euro rail, so to speak, and kept picking up this cool casks and polarizing stuff, right, Dave? Some of the stuff is out of, like, just bonkers.
Absolutely bonkers.
Didn't know you can make whiskey like that. It's like Willy Wonka stuff. Again, it's like weird, wild sweets and diesel and watermelon. It's just beautiful.
Oh, and the scotches that are coming alongside that. You know, we always pop some scotches on the table at the same time. We've really gone new labels again. Not new distilleries. We've got a series of blended Scotch whiskies here. One that we know of, blended whiskey number 2, and then 3 amazing labels that we've we blended Scotches 22, 32, 42, and 52. Yeah, we've got the answer to life and everything. 42-year-old blended Scotch whiskey, and we've also got a 52-year-old that's not quite. You can't call it Scotch whiskey. It's just gone under.
It fell under proof. Yeah. But we get to do that kind of goofy stuff, don't we, Dave? We made new labels. They're Mark, you'd like them. They're like retro blended Scotch whiskey label riffs, but with our whiskey team. It's stupid fun. Someone mentioned Burwood Distillery. I think a second ago. The honey. Yeah, I'm into that.
We have a question from Graham Fraser. Any chance ever of boutique cognacs and Armagnacs?
Absolutely.
I think we struck a nerve.
Have you got some, Graham?
Yeah, Graham, if you want to hook us up. We have some in inventory already. We haven't found a way, or a cool way anyway, to release them, you know. But the liquid's awesome. It's maturing on. One of them I think we took out of wood. Toby, our head cast buyer, he works with Felix, who, like I mentioned, was buying all the Norwest stuff. Toby is a real wine. He's a grape spirits and wine lover. And so he's a big supporter of trying to do this. But do we do that boutique Armagnac company, that boutique brandy company, that boutique cognac company? All those things are on the cards. And I think we will explore that soon enough. We're pretty busy. We're a tiny team. We're a tiny company trying to figure it out. And I do think that'll happen eventually. Yes.
Yeah, we managed 3 series last year. We're really going for 4 series releases this year. That's where we're trying to get to, just to keep the 4. And that's it's seriously a lot of work to try and do these 4, especially with everything else. You know, the advent calendars. The advent calendars have been a huge success for us for boutique whiskey this year. Right across the world, we had 3 separate advent calendars that we were fully involved, or certainly I was fully involved with this year. I picked all of the whiskies for the UK and the Canadian whiskies this year, the advent calendars, and my colleague Simon in Australia brought together an Australian exclusive for the Whisky Club down there. We had 3 advent calendars running with, I think, out of the 72 units that could have been in these advent calendars, I had 54 different We're trying to make that a little bit simpler this year. We've got to go shopping and buying whiskey for our advent calendars. But yeah, we really did go to town. I certainly tried to pick the whiskies, Simon did as well, that we wanted to taste and wanted to see in an advent calendar. Something that we would be just blown away with if we had been given that advent calendar. I went a little bit further and picked every dram for every day because I thought, well, yeah, that'd be a Monday dram. I really did go to town. I wanted the lineup, and if you drunk them all in the right order without breaking the sequence, you should live forever. That is the theory.
I've had this comment up for a second. I love this comment from G. Mills. Yeah. Whiskey should be polarizing. If it was all the same, it would be super boring. Freaking men.
Absolutely.
Let's have some fun with it. I seem
to like almost every whiskey.
Now, Jack Pershaw, and I think this is a new commenter, curious if you guys believe that putting whiskey on the rocks is sacrilegious. Oh. No, I enjoy putting a glass of whiskey on rocks all the time. Setting it on the rocks so that it's balanced perfectly, so that it doesn't spill. Whiskey on the rocks, then that's perfectly fine to me.
If you like whiskey on the rocks, absolutely go for it. Whatever. I mean, look.
Yeah, amen. If you buy it, drink it the way you like it.
No, nothing is sacrilegious.
Telling you to do that. Don't let anyone tell you to drink your whiskey, brother.
Yeah. Come to a whiskey show and watch me put Iron Brew in a 25-year-old Ardbeg. That's sacrilegious. No, it's my damn whiskey.
If you bought it, Dave, you drink it.
If it's your whiskey, okay. Ardbeg 25 and Iron Brew. Oh, dear God.
Mark, I agree, man. It doesn't sound like a tasty thing. So we can call him an idiot. We can make fun of him, but he has every right
to I'm just thinking of the sacrilege of it because I like Iron Brew and I love Ardbeg 25, but the concept of them together doesn't work for me. I'm sorry.
You're more worried about the Iron Brew.
Yeah, I don't want to screw up the Iron Brew, yeah. And Dave Kuhn likes whiskey with green eggs and ham even, yes.
Yeah, that's Sam I am.
And BMO, as long as the rocks are flat enough, enjoy it any way. And I'm kidding about that, Jack. If you like your whiskey on ice, go for it, dude. Have fun. Absolutely. Drink it the way you like it. As long as you're drinking whiskey, it's fine by me. Petehead, right? I think, disagrees. Right? Everyone has the right to his own lack of taste.
All right, Sam. This coming from a guy who has a photo of a wooden Glencairn.
Yeah, let's emphasize that. Yeah, a wooden Glencairn. Bet you get slivers when he tastes out of that.
Yeah, no, you got to wear gloves, Petehead. You got to put on mittens.
He chooses pencils as well.
That's not that guy. Yeah, who wants extra woody, no nuance whiskey. All right, Petehead.
Okay,
we're just playing, bud.
And Dave Kuhn, give me a Bellhaven and Ardbeg Boilermaker all day long.
That sounds great. I've never done that. That sounds wicked.
You know, I've got some Bellhaven Wee Heavy upstairs, and I've got Ardbeg down here.
Well,
I may have to try. I may have to try that later tonight.
Uncorked Whiskey Sessions presents Martin Gillespie doing
stupid stuff.
Yes, you run up and get your beer. Sam and I will take over the show.
Why don't you guys want to play a game? I'll go get the bell heavy. I'll go get
We won't break anything. We promise.
Oh God. Yeah, you guys play a game. You guys play a game or something for a second. I'll be right back.
Sure. All right, so you just got to share one of our screens, please.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, well, I'll just take myself out of the picture and I'll just leave you guys to mute myself.
But you got to click the share because Dave, have you requested to share?
I'm just doing it right now. I've got to add it from Google Slides. I'll just share a screen. That'd be easier, won't it? Just share a screen. Okay, I'll just share a screen. There it is.
We can hear you. So professional, Mark.
Oh, he is so professional, isn't he? Okay, we're in charge now. This is not Uncorked, actually. It's the Aerolite Lindsay show. It's the anagram game, or as we call, Anadrams. Now, as you all know, Aerolite Lindsay, you don't know, but you will know shortly. Aerolite Lindsay is a 10-year-old Isla. It's coming over to America very, very soon. But it is available here, and it is available in Canada, I believe. But Aerolite Lindsay is an anagram. There it is, Aerolite Lindsay. It is a person. It's a story. But it is an anagram of 10-year-old Isla. Now, I was going to make this really clever, this slide, so it made, because I didn't believe it either sometimes, and you have to, you have to make sure each letter comes up in order, but it does. That is Aerolite Lindsay is 10-year-old Isla. So what I thought we'd do this evening, and I think I'll need to pour this, my Aerolite Lindsay, that's just the case, and the bottle's actually down in the kitchen because I'm currently using Aerolite Lindsay as a porridge whiskey. I don't know.
Whiskey's so good you can put it in your hot cereal.
Oh, sometimes you need a whiskey in your porridge in the morning, Sam, and it's Saturday tomorrow, and I'm definitely having. It's cold. It's gonna be sub-zero tomorrow. I think it's definitely going to be sub-zero, and you need some. Anyway, that's how it works. Aerolite Lindsay.
With your comments, people.
And I'll move swiftly on. It is Burns night. Early next week, Monday, I think Burns night is. So I thought we'd do a little bit of Robert Burns associated anadrams. It's a countdown sort of thing. So here it is, your first one. I'm going to try and get some music up for you because you know you like the old anadrams music. Oh, I've lost it. It was there a minute ago. What? Okay, snort rubber. Here's your 30 seconds. Here it is. I'm going to get it now. If you shout in the new comments if you know what that is. It's quite easy one to... Oh. It's not Robert. Anyone got a clue? It's a really easy one.
It was a Robbie Burns related thing, right?
And I'm back now, guys.
Everything is down to Robert Burns. And this one, I've... Thank you very much.
I see it now.
Almost there. Boom. Yes, Tyrone, almost there. It is Robert Burns. So that's how it works. Well played. Spirit Bomb said I've got to be putting smoky whiskey into porridge. It's so damn tasty. It is.
It is, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, here's your next one. Only Dangles. Only Dangles. Oh, you've got one as well.
I'm not going to guess on these. I'm going to let the audience have fun with this.
Burns related, Mark.
What?
Everything's done with Burns.
Robbie Burns related. Only Dangles. Oh, New Year's. I think New Year's. Oh no.
Old Lang Syne.
Old Lang Syne. You did.
Well done.
Right.
I shouldn't have. I was going to let the listeners do it, but nobody had guessed it. So
that seems fair. Yeah, you're not robbing the.
But it should be AULD. Lang Syne.
AULD. You did right.
Absolutely right. We're done. The game is over, Mark.
That's the copy editor in me. Sorry, guys.
No, you're totally right.
Okay.
Do you want another one?
Let's do one more.
Okay. One more. Okay. Said ghosts gathered. Said ghosts gathered. I'll play the tune. What do we have on Burns night? Do we? I don't know. I can't remember. I wrote these and I can't remember what they are.
Well, it's Deeps and Tatties and Haggis and...
Tam O'Shanters. That's a good shout, actually. I didn't do a Tam O'Shanter.
Okay, what is it?
It is a dress. to the haggis.
Ooh, very good.
Was the address to the haggis. So that was pretty important, is the address to the haggis.
That is very important. Thank you, Dave.
Got there now?
So here's what I have. I have the Belhaven 90 Wee Heavy that I just happened to have upstairs, cold. I have a little bit of Ardbeg 10, and normally a Boilermaker would be you take a full pint of beer, take a shot glass full of whiskey, and drop it down in. I don't have either. I don't have a pint glass handy right now, nor do I have a shot glass handy. So I'm just going to.
You're going to have a half and a half.
I'm going to do just a wee pour of. I'm just going to do a wee pour of Ardbeg in to approximate what it would be, and the Spirits Bomb. Oh, geez. Let's see. The haggis comments are coming in. Damn haggis, the death of us all from Tyrone. Haggis, evil creatures got bitten by one once. Yeah. Hey, I like haggis, especially the vegetarian haggis.
That was the meal at our wedding. We got married on Burns Night, my wife and I.
Wait a second. You didn't have lutefisk at your wedding after marrying a Norwegian woman?
No, but we had akvavit on every table, which turned out to be quite a mistake because by about 6:30, everyone was out of control.
Oh, Chris Ratcliffe wants to know, is that what Brits call a depth charge?
I think so. I think dropping a shot into a pint is a depth charge.
So
I thought a Boilermaker was a half and a half. I thought a Boilermaker was a shipbuilder's term.
Oh, wow.
For a half and a half.
You're right. I think the etymology, I think yours is right. The Americans, once again, have screwed it up. You're right, Dave.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I got to admit.
I started life as a shipbuilder, and it was definitely a Boilermaker, and you had a pint and a shot, and you sipped alongside. Yeah. Whereas in Glasgow, it's a half and a half, and they were all big shipbuilding, which is a beer and a whiskey together.
I always thought the Boilermaker was like the depth charge, where you take the you sink the Bismarck or whatever, and you put the because that was the drinking game at the college bar that I was at. It was sink the Bismarck. You take the shot of whiskey and pour it and dump it into the beer.
Yeah,
and I got to admit, this combination of Belhaven and less than about half an ounce of Ardbeg 10 is actually really good.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, and I think if you had it on tap with like the nitrogen, like a Guinness, if you had the nitrogen on tap in the UK or somewhere where they had Belhaven, the texture would be lovely. That totally makes sense to me, actually.
And as Bill Ricker points out, colleges are not known for correct drinking culture, just for drinking culture.
Yeah. No, some of the guys, you're not sharing all the comments, Mark, but you're a wonderful group of people to hang out with. These comments have been hilarious.
Oh,
hilarious, yeah. Absolutely hilarious coming down here. I'm reading the comments and just laughing at them.
Yeah, the comments.
Just going back. Thank you so much.
Stacy's husband actually likes haggis. He's probably the only guy in Ohio that does.
Is haggis allowed in the States?
Not the real stuff, because they don't allow the sheep intestine, but they allow a version of it. But actually, at the Aberdeen airport has the greatest burger I've ever tasted. The bar at the Aberdeen airport has a haggis burger, where it's a regular hamburger topped with haggis on the top, with a haggis patty on the top, and oh man, is that good! You combine that with a Guinness at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and oh man, you're talking that's brunch of champions stuff right there.
Oh, a pint of Guinness at 10 o'clock in the morning that's my Boxing Day morning.
Tabitha made a haggis pizza once. It was grim.
I mean, the thing is, like, we put pepperoni. I don't even know what's in that. Hot dogs, all that stuff. At least we know this is quality lung of the pig and the sheep, chopped up, seasoned well. I love a haggis. I can't wait. I'm having a party tomorrow night. I can't wait to hit the haggis.
I love haggis, but I remember Ian Logan's comments at a Glenlivet event years ago where he said, we take the best cuts of the lamb, the sheep, the most succulent, juiciest cuts of meat. We throw them out and use the rest to make the haggis.
Yeah, but it's not a joke. Us as humans, humans civilized, we're only 10,000 years been doing this, people. So don't feel too fucking proud. But beyond that, eating, especially in these isles, Dave, and I'm not from these isles, but these isles, eating the whole beast was a normal thing. And there's restaurants that do it. And St. John is the famous one that changed the culinary scene in this country and even beyond. But eating all parts of the animal, because the outside, the muscle, ew. Who would eat the muscle? The good stuff is inside the beast, the liver, the kidneys, the heart, the intestines, but somehow that has changed. And now we sear our steaks.
Much of the world, certainly, I lived in Southeast Asia for many years. And every part is eaten. Every part of everything is eaten,
I'm just posting a comment here from Whiskey Canuck about hot dogs. It's like 3% squirrel.
There must be a percentage of spider as well, I guess.
Well, I do love that it's squirrel, though, because squirrel also love nuts. And I always associate hot dogs with baseball games. And the squirrel would love a good MLB, a day at the races. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Bill Ricker says best eaten outside since accompanied by bagpipes that works, but not in January. Yes.
Yeah, fair.
Oh, God. Dave Kuhns, that's what Don Henley's Heart of the Matter really is all about. And closing with that, on the day that Meatloaf dies, we're not going to go there because there's too many comparisons that can be made that are really inappropriate.
Meatloaf, yeah, that's right. Let's leave that.
And as Sam Spears points out, squirrel, if cooked correctly, is delicious.
Hi, Sam.
Sam, I'll take your word for that one.
I don't doubt it, Sam.
Yeah, almost any meat, if cooked correctly, is delicious.
I remember I was in Korea, and they used to, when I would visit Korea when I worked for Balvenie, they would test me as a Westerner. They thought it was fun because they were always impressed that I could use chopsticks. They'd be like, "Whoa, we got to fuck around with this guy, even worse."
Yeah.
And we went and ate beaks, like the beak of chickens.
Yeah.
But it had been mellowed in a brine, a salty brine. It had been marinated, served cold, marinated in chili, garlic, and soy. It was delicious.
I can actually, and I'm not trying to play can you top this, but I can top it. Years ago, I was a television reporter in Alaska, working in Anchorage, and we went up to one of the villages on the North Slope to do a story about their literally their village was being eroded away by climate change, even 25, 30 years ago, by erosion. Okay. But the day before we got there, the guys had...
It's a hoax, Mark.
What?
It's a hoax.
No, it's not a hoax. But the day before we got there, the local whaling crew, the boys had nailed a bowhead whale and brought it in. And the next day, they were still butchering this sucker on the beach. And butchering it with chainsaws. And keep in mind, they hunt for subsistence up there. So when they hunt a whale, they're eating the whale. So they hand me and my photographer a chunk of muktuk, which is the skin of the bowhead whale with the inner layer of blubber. And it is a delicacy in Alaska Native culture. And keep in mind that they eat this as subsistence, so you can't just refuse to eat it. You have to eat it because you're being treated as an honored guest of the village.
Yeah.
And so, I put this thing down and I ate it and I held it down because, to be completely honest, it is like eating a bicycle tire with Crisco shortening all over it.
That's right. It's just an oily piece of rubber.
It's an oily piece of rubber, and
I did the same in Nineveh. So, but what? So that's what you would. Is there any food you would compare it to?
Domino's Pizza.
There goes that sponsorship, Mark.
I kid.
I haven't eaten meat for over 30 years, so...
I don't eat much meat anymore, but I remember that, and my photographer wanted seconds. And I'm going, thanks. I recognize that this is you live a subsistence lifestyle, and this is an important part of your culture, and I would prefer to defer to your lifestyle and to out of respect.
Yeah.
Basically saying, yes, I've had enough. Thank you. But it was a respectful way of saying it. I was trying to be respectful, saying, you guys live on this during the winter. I don't want to take another bite.
Yeah, fair. Absolutely, man.
But yeah, I didn't want to take another bite, but I was trying to find a polite way of doing it. Well,
I remember being introduced to durian, and I absolutely love durian these days. But I remember my first time. I mean, how the bloody hell do you eat this stuff? It just smells like a corpse. Now I don't smell that at all. Now I just smell this beautiful perfume. And once you get over that eating, it's just the most delicious fruit ever. That's why it's called the king of fruits. It's just. Do you like it, Sam? Have you tried it?
I've eaten it in various guises and different situations as well. I don't know if I could have it in this house without it kicking up a fuss, but I love it, and I think that
I love the smell of it and everything now. But
I'm sorry, you guys lost me here. Which fruit are we talking about?
The durian.
Durian.
Oh, that's the fruit of the dead or whatever?
It's the king of fruits, Mark.
The king of fruits, okay.
King of fruits.
But the stuff that smells like a corpse, basically.
Yeah, but it does. If you haven't tasted it, it does, yes. As soon as you taste it, it never smells like the corpse.
But Anthony Bourdain and all these chefs and all these, on his show and us in our own lives, we know the things that smell repulsive are often the most beautiful. And I think we stick our noses. I don't know if when you first got into Scotch, Mark, or if you first were exposed to whiskey. When I first moved to Edinburgh, someone put a Lefroy. I didn't know it was Lefroy. It was in a green bottle with a white label. I said, "Let me get you a Scotch." And they bought me a whiskey. It smelled like cancer. I could not understand why someone would bottle that and sell it, and let alone buy it. But obviously, you come around to it. Cheese, fermented foods, all which are marks of civilization all over the world. I love a durian, Dave. I love a durian. If you can get close enough to it, once it's in your mouth, it is heaven.
I mean, it's so expensive over here now. That's for sure.
Oh, it's stupid. No, I know you can only buy. You can't, and they're not really great because they've traveled. They've been picked too young, and they've traveled.
They are pretty. If you know what you're looking for, they are pretty good. I mean, the Thai supermarkets around here that I can pick a durian out that will taste fantastic. Believe me.
I will have to admit that I have not tried one, but I will try one next time I get a chance.
All right, Whiskey Cast viewers, you're talking about durians. What next?
Okay, I think we're actually done right now. We've killed an hour and 15 minutes that people are never going to get back. Sam Simmons, Dave Worthington. Hey, thanks, guys, for doing this. Slanchava, and take care of yourselves. Sam, the third time is not the charm for COVID. Do not get COVID a third time, okay? No, we need you, brother.
Thank you. No, thanks, guys. Yes, thank you very much. So nice. Okay. Thanks for inviting us too, Mark. It's been lovely.
Hey, thank you, guys. That's our Happy Hour Live webcast from the other night, Friday, January 21st, 2022, with Dave Worthington and Sam Simmons from That Boutique Whiskey Company. Don't forget to join us each Friday night at 5 p.m. New York time for our Happy Hour Live webcasts. This week, my guests will be Clay Risen of the New York Times and Maggie Kimbrell of American Whiskey Magazine. You can catch the fun on the Whiskey Cast YouTube channel, our Facebook page, Twitter, and Twitch. If you haven't downloaded this week's Whiskey Cast podcast yet, we have an audio tour of Nevada's Spray Ranch Distillery, one of the leaders in the grain-to-glass farm distilling movement. It's available just like this podcast at whiskycast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. If you have feedback on our webcasts or anything else you'd like to share with whiskey lovers, we'd love to hear from you. Catch us on social media at WhiskyCast or use the contact form at whiskycast.com. You can also email us. The address is comments@whiskycast.com. Thanks to our presenting sponsors of WhiskyCast, Dewar's and Redbreast, along with the segment sponsors on the podcast each week, Writer's Tears, The Dalmore, Scarabus, Catoctin Creek, Sagamore Spirit, and Oban. WhiskyCast is a production of Cask Strength Media, copyright 2022, and comes to you from the charming, yet regrettably dry town of Haddonfield, New Jersey. I'm Mark Gillespie, reminding you that when you drink, please drink responsibly. Thanks for listening.